like God Lord Shaw's class, but like, this is yours, yeah, bro. Right now.
That's right. Yeah, he's on Saturday.
Huh?
He's on Saturday.
Oh, Saturday, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you don't do Saturdays.
Right, man. Yeah, I've always done Thursday since 2000.
Since 2000?
No, since 2000.
Since 2000.
That's right. I've been here every Thursday since 2000.
Right. 24 years?
That's right. This is the 25th year.
25th year?
This course that I'm teaching here is the longest course ever at a law school in Mecca.
Yeah.
In its whole history.
All history.
Okay. So that leads up to the history right now. Okay.
Yep.
Eventually we had this school. Eventually the school, originally when we got to school, it was basically a prep course to get students to finish their work in high school and get on to college. So many of our elders, Dumar, Alim, who's still alive, Dumar passed away, Umala, who passed away, they all got their degrees eventually by doing that. But eventually became our school where we're teaching what we teach. You know what I mean? Right? And an outreach center, just like it says, an outreach center to youth. So we deal with the youth though, but we're not impressing them with what we know. We're sharing with them what we know, and we're guiding them to what they could be. You know? That's why I said it's your choice what you're going to deal with, how you're going to deal with this stuff. The only thing is that we share it exactly as it is so you can make your own decisions. Mm-hmm. Right? If this is really knowledge, I don't have to do that much convincing. Right. I just have to share it the right way. Right?
Right.
Okay. Do you have any questions of anything I said or anything? Peace to the God, Malik. All right. So generally, like at your age, though, if you decided to learn with me, right? Someone that takes you through the lessons. When the Father left the temple, he took the teachings that they call the supreme wisdom. I quoted the first one, right? And he called it 120 lessons, right? Mm-hmm. So they have 122 questions, answers, and statements. 2 of them are repeated, so he called them 120 lessons. Okay? We memorize them, though. We don't believe them. We memorize them, and we analyze them in our lives. What he created, though, was supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet. Okay? So a meaning to each number, right? And a meaning to each English alphabet letter. Okay? When we deal with supreme mathematics, though, that describes briefly and succinctly and perfectly what the law and order of the universe, but also the what and how does the original man do, right? So we go through that knowledge, wisdom, understanding, right? Knowledge, what? The actual facts that are learned. Wisdom, those actual facts being used, and understanding, though, the insights, the revelations of purpose of those actual facts, all the mental process. Then you live it out as a culture outwardly, right? And that freely leads you to have power. This power is focused as refinement, though. 5. And it leads to what? An equality, a proper position now, a greater position than you were before you dealt with this knowledge. And now you have an equality. That equality leads to a fulfillment of you, what I call a reaffirmation of rejuvenation of self.
7.
Right? 7, God. Because you're not becoming God again and again. You're only reaffirming it by showing and proving. And once you what? Realize yourself once again with this build that you were doing, you were what? Adding on. Changing the reality around you. Building and destroying. What once was is destroyed as you build something anew. And you what? Then you reach from 8 build to 9 born. An elevated fulfillment from where you first started with that knowledge. And this cipher continues because the cipher is endless, and we add on a cipher, knowledge cipher, and we continue. So with mathematics, the law and order of how everything that we do is in that mathematics, and your nature is described in that mathematics. And when you see the things you do mathematically, then you see your principles properly. You see the way that you're going to move properly. Your nature is what? Seen easier for you. Okay? It is not a spell book, though. You did not chart, you did not stumble upon yourself once you use mathematics. You are realizing yourself once you are using it. That supreme mathematics, that is our language, and it is expanded in dialect by meanings given to each letter in the English alphabet. And then they are synchronized with the numbers. So the first letter is 1, A, Allah, right? So Allah is what? You, supreme being. But it is also synonymous to knowledge because everything begins with you. You see? So there's correlations between the mathematics and the supreme alphabet. And this allows us to have even a deeper dialect, the way that we speak to each other, right? The Father created supreme math, the supreme alphabet, okay? And he applied it, and he taught us how to apply it to the 120 lessons and then all existence. You see? 120 is just like that early template to use and practice with endlessly, okay? So as a student, you would start by learning and memorizing supreme math, being able to quote it and have some developing understanding every time. Move on to supreme alphabet, then into the 120 lessons, and those are broken down into sections, right? A student that knowledges all of it, though, shows improves, and he gets his universal flag. But this would be the order of the education, okay? Now, these are your decisions to make. I don't even like when anyone in my classroom makes that decision. Outside for God. Now, I like everyone to make the decisions of what they want to deal with. So I offer that you give me an email, something I can share things with you to reiterate what was shared, and you can show and prove it yourself. Everything I teach here, I do not believe it. So I expect you not to believe it. So everything that I was taught, right, by my elders, right, I was taught by Knowledge Me, and his roots go back to what? Firstborn Black Messiah and firstborn Prince. And that's my root back to the firstborn and Allah himself. But he taught me not to believe anything he said, even though he knew it to be true. So I had to go home and test it out, see if it was true, study the text. If I said, we're the father of civilization, is that really true, right? Who's first, the Greeks or the Egyptians? You know what I mean? Is it Kemet, right? Or is it this, right? And we go back, right? These beginnings, right? God of the universe. How can we be God of the universe if I was born now? Right? These are things we'll figure out with sciences, right? The study of how the mind works, though. The study of how thoughts born all things in reality, right? And that nothing was born without a thought, right? Go back to what we were saying about quantum mechanics and the wavicles, right? Those are affected by thought, right? So these are things to test out. But what we do here is scientifically, we show and prove that we're the true and living God, and we have never finished yet. We never finished because we always work to find the flaw and show and prove it again and again, and thus expand it deeper. Okay? So you make your own decision. This is up to you. You're a grown man. So if you decide to learn with me, I will give you things, and then that's it. I won't be calling you going, yo, God, you on point, God? Because you're not like my young 15-year-olds. You're not like my young 20-year-olds. You know what I mean? So I expect you to make your questions. I expect you to read these books, right? And all of them. But if you email me, if we contact, we'll have a whole collection, right? In this classroom, you have access to my library, which is over 6,000 books. 6,000 books. Okay? And that's all digital. Okay? So you throw away the books I give you, hey, it's all good. You throw them away now. I don't need them. I'm giving you copies, okay? But you will have access to the knowledge and the things that you need to know, right? Now, along with that, there's 3 things I tell every student that walks into my classroom, okay? And even if you have the knowledge and stuff like that and you start teaching people, these are things you can tell people to always do if I never see you again. You say, listen, that stuff that they're teaching there is crazy. I just don't want to learn with Sunez. I don't care what he's doing. You know what I mean? Anything, right? The first thing is that for the rest of your life, though, it'll be a great activity to always be judging who it is that is teaching you. And so now we have to figure out what is teaching us. And everything is teaching us. What we see, what we remember, what we don't remember. You know what I'm saying? Right? We walk in the streets, though. You know what's crazy? I don't know. This is me. When I walk the streets, I don't remember ugly women. I only remember the fine ones, though. You know what I mean? So the thing is, though, there's something going on with the way I'm remembering things. You know what I mean? The same thing when we deal with knowledge. Sometimes brothers want to learn, let's say, father of civilization.
Yeah.
To really learn that aspect of that degree, you can't just go on YouTube. Even if you find Chaikin Diop, Ivan Van Sertima, and the legends of scholarship, those lectures are just some of the stuff that they were teaching. You're going to have to read the books. You're going to have to read the books that's heavy. Books that give you a headache, though, especially Diop, man. Diop didn't care about no layman. Diop was writing to go against every white scholar, and he didn't care about some brother on 125th buying a book. You know what I mean?
Right.
So sometimes we don't learn things because of the way that we're getting the knowledge. Then we also, once we find out how we're learning, we can figure out what we're learning. And then we also could figure out, though, how we tend to learn. When you find out how you tend to learn, you can also find out how you're fooled. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I love the way the black woman sings.
Yeah.
I got to be careful. They start singing some things to me. I might go believe in it, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how they get you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of Muslim traditions and Muslim sects, they don't let women sing. That's how deep it gets. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, though, you got to find out how you get fooled. Some brothers be learning everything from rap, though.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? That's just a starting point, though. They're not giving you references, right? Even I've done albums, though. I don't put no references at the end.
You done albums?
Yeah. I've done 3 of them. Yeah.
Really? Dang.
Yeah. Fourth one is coming out June. Yeah. But when all this happens, right? Now that you're judging who it is that is teaching you, you have a criteria. Does he know what he's talking about? What is it that I want to learn from this person? What is it that I want to learn from YouTube here? Right? Figure out what it is. Don't get led astray. What makes a reference good? You're reading a book, it says, oh, he said this guy did this at this time. And it's reference, it says 26. Let me go to 26 in the footnotes. Oh, he said, look, and it might be, I was talking to this girl. You know what I mean? That's how Wakil's references are in the name of Allah. He's like, man, I was talking to Joe over here. You know what I mean? And like, it's all bullshit. He was saying all this stuff about Firstborn Prince. You look, it was one letter that Firstborn Prince wrote in jail. Imagine if they took one letter you wrote to a God locked up and said, with that one letter, Freedom's whole life. I'm going to tell Freedom's whole life with that one letter. He said that's insufficient, right? That ain't enough. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I wrote 8 books, though. You ain't going to use one letter for my whole life. You know what I mean? So the thing is, now you want to have a criteria. And see, the thing, this goes everywhere in your whole life, though. People will tell you stuff and you'll be like, sounds true. But when you deal with this knowledge, though, I don't believe anybody. People be like, yo, the train's out of order. I'm like, oh, who are you? You official? I ain't see no yellow orange jacket. I don't see no MTA thing. Who are you? Right? Everything got to be right and exact. Right? So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is if you're a student, a lot of times people think students are good when they explain things. But sometimes just babbling, though. If it's this, if it's that. The student is based on their questions, not their answers. So if you got to, in this classroom, I ask people to have a journal. For you, not for me. And you write down your ideas, your thoughts, your questions, what you're learning, right? Your criticisms, and hopefully down the line, you write down not just what happens to you, but what you're going to do. You have the word is bond. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of power in that. And when you do this, you devise questions. To make a question of what you don't know, you have to make sure that everything you think you know is correct, but you also have to be able to know what you don't know to put it into words. But this is the way that you learn. And if you could put more things that you don't know into words of a sentence of question, the more you could get yourself thinking to how does this question get answered? Find the right book, the right person, the right place, right? So you're constantly studying yourself to see what you know and see what you don't. That leads me to the third thing, the last and third thing. If you never do anything, I tell you, and you leave and you never see me again, is always, right? We're not European. We bathe daily, right? And I bathe twice a day now, right? you bathe yourself of belief as well. See, the science says that when we have knowledge of self, we're the true and living God. Me, I'm the true and living God. So we think that we don't believe things anymore. But the knowledge is infinite, right? Because remember I said we get to knowledge added on the cipher 10? That means technically if we keep counting, there is no end. So knowledge is infinite. And so that means that there's always something I don't know. So when I say bathe yourself of belief means what is it that at this present moment you are doing that is most based on what you don't really know? For a lot of new students, maybe you, mostly others, the thing that they're doing the most that they have to do, that they know the least about, and so they deal with belief in it, is what they're eating. I believe that this is good for you, right? They be reading the front of the box. The box says this is healthy for you. Like it literally says healthy for you. And they're like, okay, that's what they said. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's reading it though. They don't do the knowledge, right? So we say what? We start you off though with that, the physical. It's real easy, right? We get off the pork, right? We look at what has pork. Chewy candies that don't disintegrate, right? The glycerin that's not vegetable glycerin, right? The yellow number 5 dyes, all the dyes, right? And then all of these 15-word chemicals that we don't know that are on the Doritos, you know what I mean? And other things, right? So now we start to what? Right, man.
I my teeth is yellow. I'm trying to get my teeth white.
That's right. So all of these things we start to do the knowledge to. So you bathe yourself of belief, okay? So those are the 3 things, all right? Any questions about anything I said? Okay. Now, if you engage in this class on any level, the first is to give me your email, right? Or take down my email so you can email me, right? And I'll give you some of this information and give you other books and stuff so you could start and see what you want to do. If you say, listen, I'm the God, I gotta get this. I see myself as the God. I want to get this knowledge. Then I will start you on that journey. Okay. Whoever takes you through this journey of going through math, alphabet, and 120 lessons is your enlightener. Okay. Some people use the word educator. I say enlightener because it's a term of endearment, and I use it for my enlightener. Now it's me. Right. To me, it's a term of reverence and stuff, and I use it though. They enlighten the path for you. They don't just guide you, but they force you to show and prove yourself. You know what I mean? So they enlighten the path or the way you should do it. Okay?
I do have a question actually.
Please.
So you said there's 9 firstborn, right?
Uh-huh.
And then each firstborn from there went to teach.
They were supposed to teach 9. So many of them, after those first students though ideally, many of them taught way more than 9. That's for sure. Some of them taught whole boroughs. But ideally, the first students of those firstborn, like the next wave, was called first fruit. Okay.
But they all learning the same things, though, but in different ways.
Right, but teachers, a lot of it was oral, so they didn't have the 120 lessons written. So they was learning orally. And the father taught very much to the needs of the student. So sometimes he didn't teach the degrees in order. He taught the degrees according to what you might be able to use. A lot of times, at that time, the elders, when they were young, some of them would be learning, be like, yo, do you have the 14th degree? Because they got the 15th and 16th. Yeah. Now, you know, you need those, right? And put them together, right? And so they would learn like that. As they went along, and certainly after the father passed away, they started to write things down. You know what I'm saying? Especially by the 90s, especially here in Mecca, they started to write things down. You know? Yeah. Right.
And then you say that he came from the 3rd prince, son?
Firstborn prince was the 3rd to get this knowledge, right? So my root goes to him. Okay. And it's indirect through knowledge me, but also direct because I learned with him as well. Okay. He was alive when I came here and was learning. You know.
Was he not?
What happened?
Was
Firstborn prince was murdered, actually.
He's murdered?
Yeah, he was murdered around 2001. Yeah.
Before the day I was born? Wait,
I don't know what day. I don't remember what day.
He's the 3rd born, but he's the firstborn prince?
Because there's nobody named Prince. He's the first.
His name is Prince.
Right. So all the firstborn, all the first 9 are called the firstborn. So it's firstborn and then their name. right? So each one of like, I knew firstborn Prince, and I knew firstborn Al Jamel, who was the youngest of the firstborn. I dealt with them a lot.
And is the fruitful
First fruit.
first fruit?
Right.
It goes after that or no?
Nah, after that, it's just, all of us
Seeds.
in whatever lineage and tree that you could write.
And other boroughs have their firstborn also. He's speaking on the firstborn of Mecca.
Right.
So there's firstborn of Medina, firstborn of P.E.A.C.E.
Mm-hmm.
Those are different boroughs.
Right, because it started here. These are the first. The firstborn official, very firstborn.
Firstborn of the nation.
The nation.
Yeah.
But because of these gods, when they went out to different states, they were so powerful that they deserved that firstborn title, because that's how the lineage gets solid. Like, wait, who brought it over here, and who's rooted in Mecca that knows this well? And that's why you needed to have that title like that where you were,
It's not where you're from, it's where you at.
That's right. And with the tree strong, then you can. My tree is small because I'm right here. I'm direct. Other brothers' trees is longer because they're from different places, or they got it, outside of the borough and stuff.
And mine also goes back to Black Messiah, and one of my big brothers, his goes back to Prince. So I'm kind of like him,
Right.
but I have 6 people between me and Black Messiah. Whereas,
And it's powerful that he knows the 6 people. You know what I'm saying? Because it shows you how this was kept right and exact through those generations like that. It's powerful.
Nah, yeah. So wait, you direct to the one, but he directs 6 after this.
That's only because I got it here. I got it here at the
I'm
root.
from California.
Word.
So I was learning with knowledge me, but firstborn Prince at the time lived in the school. So the computer room was where used to be his room where he lived. So like he lived right here. So I would be at times though after class, I would be hearing things from him, or he would come and tell me some other things. You know what I mean? And show me things. Yeah. And I was here. I came here in 1999, and I started to teach here in 2000. So to do that, I was here every single day. And I had every elder that was around was taking me under their wing, and I would spend time with them. It was like a different episode every time I was here. So one of them I would walk with Duma, or I would walk with Waz Jamel, or I would walk with, I'd be with Darkin. We go back to Pilon, you know what I'm saying? And just learning with them and seeing how they go through the course of the day, or just stay here all day. You know how it is. Listen to soul music, you know what I'm saying?
Soul,
right? All day. Manhattans, the Delphonics, Dramatics, main ingredient, right? All day. So that's the way that it was. And I'm a writer, so at that time I had my notepads, and every time I heard something, like, oh, he said this, he said what, and I'd just be writing whatever they said,
You're right.
Right.
Me too. I'm always writing like films or shows. I do music too. Like,
That's
many
peace.
shows is in as well.
Peace to the God, self-magnetic. All right.
Alright.
One of my great students. Shamika, peace. I have not seen you in here. If you have questions, please let me know. All right. Saladin, that's good to see you, man. Make sure you watch it after if you're going to leave. I see that, Malik. Malik said wisdom is articulated awareness. I could see that. Clemente, peace. All right. Peace to the God, King Kamal. That's my rhyme partner right there. Right, the Quincy, my Quincy Jones. He's the one that really taught me how to MC. Kasim, peace to the God.
Are you the brother that called a few hours ago?
All right. I'll be here till 8:00. Okay. All right. Anybody here have any questions? Yeah, please.
like, that, every generation had to some so the knowledge like your generation way back like you or like what back start came in 1999 we started here in 2000 yeah like even then now my generation is different no the young people never learn something like something times like you know think about it.
Mhm.
Like, kids, I'm teaching myself. Like, I'm about to teach them. Right? And I agree with you. What you're saying, but you know, the one, well, the father, like the one, only 22, that is like the 120 lessons.
Right, right.
And the mathematics and those alphabets and when he did left the temple, man. Yeah, so, like, yeah, it's not, yeah, out there, yeah, the Allah Father, he did left the temple and started the nation in 64, like, before the Malcolm X left, but that's,
Absolutely. You know, when we see it, like it's very organic, though. You know, it gets mythologized. You know what I'm saying? Like he left like a superhero, and he knighted the firstborn and stuff like that. And I wouldn't really like that. You know what I mean? Like he didn't not line them up and say, "Ye are the firstborn," like Knights of the Round Table or something like that. You know what I mean? He just was building with them, and he confided in them, and he said, "You got it," you know. And they were sharp. They were sharp. You know, in my experience, so many of these guys, like they would have been able to be scholars on any level. Dumar was a scholar on any level. The stuff that he was writing, the way he was speaking. I mean, he was a classical educator. He didn't look like a classical educator because he had so much style, but he was a classical educator. He wrote the lessons and then he taught the lesson. You know what I'm saying? And he was a performer with that. Yeah, he's dynamic. You know, Umala was well educated. You know what I'm saying? Firstborn Prince, you know, I mean, he was writing many plus lessons, you know, so, and see, people know I always tell people this, people know like the screaming and the angry firstborn prince and the tough firstborn prince, but when you were really learning with him, though, right, he was very soft-spoken, very clear, you know what I'm saying? And will give you your assignment, though, explain things very easily to you, you know what I'm saying? But after a while, like, you know, I saw him at the end of his life. So after a while, he was just more bitter as to wasting his time, you know, with so many students that weren't really learning. Because that's the percentage, though. You know, the harder it is the harder it is the curriculum or the ideas that you're teaching, the fewer students you're going to have that really learn it. That's just the way it is. So do you water it down or do you keep it as is and deal with the most high quality level student? You know, it's like the martial arts. When I teach the martial artists, they say this with martial arts as well. You forget very, very rarely do you get the great student. If you're really teaching, most of them won't really understand martial arts. They just might know the first surface level of fighting and things like that. But the real martial arts, where it deals with your principles and your ethics and how you will live and that code. How does warriorship apply to this day and time? You know, all of those things, right? Very rarely do they get that. You know, very few people get that. You know, right? It's the same thing with this knowledge, though. So that's why, like, I don't worry about numbers. It is more difficult now to teach. You know what I'm saying? But the popular, not just the popular music, but in general, the popular culture of our people is way more dumbed down than before. There's very little cleverness, and if you look back at a lot of the art that was made before, it seems mind-blowingly cerebral compared to now. And I'm not even just talking about Wu-Tang 90s, you know what I mean? I'm talking about, like, if we go back to shit, if you study the origins of blues singers, I'm talking about just early blues. The singers have lyrics far more clever and far more like layered than they do now. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm talking about radio stuff. I'm not talking about like stuff that you dig for. But the thing is, though, is that if the society is more dumbed down, right? They have less attention span, right? There was no such thing as like the phones like that and everything. So kids have a lot less attention span. That includes my own kids. Like my youngest, though, like she's great at stuff, but man, I gotta make sure that phone is not around. You know what I'm saying? I gotta focus them, and they do great, but you gotta focus them. So that all of these things, you're gonna get less students than we had before.
Yeah.
It's easier to get certain things that look like you have it. So the curriculums of all schools are easy to find. You know what I'm saying? Like you could find the curriculum of a kung fu school and just imitate the moves. You could find yoga classes and do the moves. It doesn't mean that you may do them right, but you'll do them, and now you don't need to engage with a real student. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this stuff was supposed to be supplemental. YouTube stuff is supposed to be supplemental, but people don't use it supplemental. They're going to use it like, yo, this is the way I'm going to learn how to fight. This is the way I'm going to learn how to do this. You know what I mean? Everything's DIY. You know what I mean? Do it yourself. And not everything is like that. This knowledge definitely ain't like that. See, one of the things that made it a lot easier for me to learn is because it wasn't just learning things. Like a lot of days, it's just the way experiencing humanity and seeing how the gods would react to them and seeing how they deal with them. A lot of my stuff that I would write in my journals was about how gods reacted to things, their teaching style, techniques. And because I was here so much, I saw great elders react to the same type of situation in totally different ways. You know what I'm saying? And then I would say, so you learn that teachers often react to their strength. Brothers that really have this knowledge of self, they take you into their wheelhouse, their cipher. And that's why the reactions are different. So if a Dumar, he wants to sit you down and tell you. So if you say something, he's going to take you out of your reality and bring you into his. Right? Whereas wise Jamel, because he was so spitfire, right? He would throw it out there and then produce the cipher that would engage. So that's more of a way of other people being attracted. And now the person that you were talking to is now going to have to pay attention. Like, damn, he drawing up all these people. Let me pay attention more. There's all different techniques, you know what I'm saying? Even when I teach, when I'm in a cipher outside and I don't know what they're doing, I teach this style. I'm more calm, I'm more direct. So it becomes more intimate. And I gotta take you through it carefully. You know what I mean? So it shrinks the cipher. The way I teach, it tends to shrink the cipher. There's all different methods. And I was around all the methods. You know what I mean? Almost all of them. Colleen was doing that different than Firstborn Prince. In fact, a lot of these elders had issues with each other. They did it so different that they would argue about it. When I started teaching here, I did it so different that they had issues in the beginning. They were like, nah, you need to yell at that person. And I was like, nah, it's all right, though. Like they would tell me, guys would tell you, yo, you should have yelled at him, though, for doing that. And I'm thinking, like, it's 20, this is 24 years. Now imagine if I yelled at everybody that deserved to be yelled in 24 years. I might not make it. I might not be here, man. Right? So I realized that a long time ago. You know what I mean? So see, Claudio, it's about you taking this knowledge and realizing that knowledge is a thing to be judged, to see if it is knowledge, and then use it for your gain. And that's why you owe nothing to us for teaching you. You see? When we take you through 120 and you say, I'm God in this nation, you don't owe anyone anything. Now you owe it to yourself because you're taking the responsibility of all humanity. God is responsible for the whole universe, and that's how he's the true living God. It's not an aspect of ego. It's a reality of responsibility that your mind is capable of controlling all this, and you come from all the minds that did control it. And so whether you like it or not, are aware or unaware, things that you're doing are so powerful that it's affecting everything. You see? And it's not just about picking your breakfast cereal. The way that you move, the way that you think, everything is affecting everything else. You see?
Interdependence.
Right.
Independence.
Absolutely.
Not
And not
interdependence,
scientists today, there's one scientist named Robert Lanza, right? Robert Lanza has 3 books about what he calls biocentricism. Just to show you how other scientists have come up with things that talk about it. He's a biologist, and he wrote books calling it biocentricism, saying that this universe and nothing exists until you are in it, until you activate it, until you engage in it. That sounds familiar, right? To what I just was saying, right? Because to define it, Claudio, we are the creators in our own creation.
Yes.
We are creator in our own creation.
Yes.
When you create, that creation inspires you to create again, but you have changed things. It's just that we don't see ourselves as creators. The first thing that to make you see yourself as a creator is to say, find out how much control you have over creating your own life. If you create your own life so powerfully, it's going to affect everything. You know what I'm saying? It's going to affect everything. The way people think, the way they move, all of that. The things that you create, right? Because I said knowledge, wisdom, understanding was a mental thing. But then I said culture. If you live out your understanding, the 3 to the 4, you live out your 3, understanding, and your culture. Culture is something that is engaged. So it's no longer your own, it's lived out. Everyone is experiencing it. That's why it has power, right? So you're always affecting someone, whether you like it or not. You affect everything. And there will never, and I know this because I'm a twin. I have an identical twin.
Identical twin?
Right.
Hey,
You could tell us apart now. We live different
I have
lives.
2 young sisters, and they're twins, like, bro.
Yeah.
And some,
Now, I'm saying that because the DNA is so exact, but no one is me. No one is him, and no one will be you. So you, Claudio, are the impossible possibility. Someone thought of a brother just like you, but it could never be that they could never make it and be it like that. Only you could make that impossibility possible. So every true and living God is an impossible possibility. No one is like you. You know what I mean? And that's why we create our names, though, to show that reality. You know what I mean? Yeah. You go around, you ain't gonna find no Sunez like this. Right? Nobody do it like this. You know what I mean? That's what Dumar used to say. He'd be like, nobody do it like this. He used to say that, you know? But it's real powerful, man. You know, seeing all the styles. And you know, when I was coming here to teach, I didn't even think about, oh, he does it this way, he does it that way. They had me so in tune to who I was that I said, what would be the best way to express myself? You know what I mean? And it just paralleled with me learning martial arts at the same time, because the gods brought me to my martial art, Sigun, master teacher, right? And he taught us the same way. He taught us metamorphosis. He called Biang Xing, where you would learn all the moves, but they would be so unique that no one would do it like you. It would be a metamorphosis, you know? And it paralleled the knowledge, you know what I mean? The self-styled wisdom. No one is going to speak it like you. You know what I'm saying? But that happens the more you know about yourself. God used to get knowledge, they would get knowledge. Yo, they'd be like, they see Wise Jamel. Yo, I want to do the mathematical build up like that. I want to build like Wise Jamel. You know? Wise Jamel said, yeah, you can't build like me. You can never build like me. You know what I mean? You could never be like this, you know? And it wasn't a diss. It was like, listen, you got to be you. All the time you spend it being like me, the world is going to be deprived of you being you. Because the world don't need another Wise Jamel. You know what I'm saying? Everything that Wise Jamel needed to do and needed to share and all the things that he wanted us to do, he wanted us to do it as ourselves.
Yep.
Right? We do it as ourselves. So, but what is yourself? Right? And all the ancient philosophies, religions of the original peoples, black, brown, yellow, through ancient times, they're always asking, what is the self? By saying, get rid of your ego. Forget about who you think you are and find out who you really are. We go back all the way to ancient texts, the Tao Te Ching, Dhammapada, the Sufic orders, all the way to the modern philosophers, right? Like Jiddu Krishnamurti and Osho, right? All of them, all saying the same thing. Bruce Lee, his own stuff, because Bruce Lee wrote philosophical books too, you know? All of them wrote stuff, you know? All the great martial artists, by the way, they all wrote philosophical works, you know? They had to explain, like, what is the mentality? How will be a warrior at all times, so, you know? And it was a challenge to be able to bring peace without violence, right? That became Moriya Yeshiva's goal, right? During the 20th century, people know Bruce Lee the most, but Moriya Yeshiva was said to be one of the most challenging. If they said, like, who's greater, he would be in there. Learned from many schools in Japan. And one day, like, he has moments, though. He has one moment where there were guys that attacked him with swords, and he killed both of them, but he had no weapons.
He didn't want to kill him, though, right?
What happened?
He didn't want to kill him.
He realized that he didn't have to. That if his skill is so great, he didn't have to kill him. You know what I'm saying? This was his mentality. And he had revelations. And he eventually said, it's got to be about peace. And he developed the science of Aikido. So you ever seen Steven Seagal movies, or like when people throw some and they throw them with like a pinky and they throw them? That's Aikido. In other words, you're giving mercy because, yo, you coming at me? Let me just throw you over there. While I throw you over there, you're not badly bruised, but you'll think about it before you run at me again. You know what I mean? And he would do that because he understood the body's anatomy and the physics of it and his ability so well. Man, he was just amazing, you know? And the collection of his writings became known as The Art of Peace, you know? It's one of my favorite books. I read it every year at least once, you know? Every year at least once. And just like the Tao Te Ching, the way in its power, that's what that means. And the Art of Peace and the Dhammapada, the sayings of the Buddha, all of these books, ancient texts, modern texts, Moriya Yeshiva, all of these texts say that man is in the mind, created by the mind. You know what I mean? Right? As a man thinketh, a book I will email you. If you email me a short book, quotes the Dhammapada, but doesn't give credit, because that's how white folk do. They don't give credit. Man is like the mind. The mind is to man like the ox drives the cart. So whatever the mind thinks, the man will become. Like the ox drives the cart. So wherever that mind thinks, the body will go. You know? And so these are the things that led to him writing As a Man Thinketh. Of course, As a Man Thinketh, I give that book because it's written more of a modern way, so it's easier to get. The Dhammapada is something to read when you want to read the beauty of the word and you're more used to reading those. You'll love it, though. But the thing is, what we're teaching here is man is God. The black man is God, the original man. These aren't new teachings. We didn't make this up. You find it in the ancient text. The Tao Te Ching says 3 times in 3 different aphorisms, in 3 different sutras, right? It says, how do I know the universe around me? And the answer is by what is within me. That's how it's translated. You know what I mean? Yeah. John C.H. Wu's translation is like that. You know what I mean? So it was always about seeing the self as a reflection, a manifestation of everything else. Seeing yourself is seeing everything. You know? The ancient texts, like the Greek text, the Kabbalion, which they learned from the ancient Egyptians, right? The people of Kemet, the original man. The Kabbalion says what? Man is mind, right? And the mind is all. All is affected by thought and can only be affected by thought. That's what the Kabbalion says. I didn't make that up. That's what it says. Of the 7 principles they teach, that's one of them. The first one, all is the mind. See? Then you go, well, does it say that we're God? The way it gets manipulated is that they say that you're not God because you're just a drop in the ocean. All of the water is God. See? But if each one of you is a drop, then when the mind is one, then it's the same thing.
The same thing.
You see? But they always veered people off the path because they didn't see that they was ready for it.
They said people gonna laugh at you.
Yeah.
The wise gonna cry,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
and
You know, in the
the-
Tao Te Ching, they say if the Tao wasn't true, Tao means the way. If the way wasn't true, then the fool wouldn't laugh. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's real like that, right? You go around and say, listen, man is God. There's no mystery God, man. It's all us, though. We're the ones causing all this stuff. You know what I mean? No matter what we cannot do, and we figure we can't do something, there's no one else that actually does it, though. It either stays undone or it gets done by someone else. Please God. Please God, brother. All right? So when you look at it like that and you tell people, people is not ready for that. They'll laugh at it. Yo, there was one time a young brother, an older man, likes hip hop and stuff. So he's like, yo, Rakim and all of them, they talk about this all the time. And I was trying to come here and see it for myself, you know, but I don't really know what y'all say. What are y'all teaching? I tell him, though, when I got to the part, though, that, you know, Allah left the temple because he saw himself as God, not as a Muslim, submitting to the will of Allah, came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, right? He said, yeah. He's a God, like, you know, one of the gods of God, you know? I said, no. He saw himself as God. Only. There's no God. Yo, his head went like this. What? He went like that. What? Like I pushed his wig back with the knowledge. Knowledge pushed his wig back. You know what I mean? He went, what? What? Like that. His head, it fired back. I was like, yo, I thought he was getting hurt. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, okay, that's great. That's great. He started to back away. He literally walked back and it was like, oh, that's great. I'm glad that you share, you know, what you guys are about. Man, he left. Messed his head up so bad to hear this different idea. Forget, because he didn't take any time to see if it was true, but just a different idea, a challenging concept. You know what I mean? Now imagine teaching quantum mechanics though in school, right? How kids will go crazy. Existed, been dealt with since the 1900s. The atomic bomb couldn't be made without the science of quantum mechanics, the science of the subatomic. And yet, if they teach you that in school, they wouldn't know, right? So at the subatomic level, matter and energy are not decided. Particles and energy waves, particles of matter, waves of energy are not decided. They are either or. So they are often called wavicles. It is when the observer observes them that they become solid and decide their way, right? So looking at that chair, right? Claudia, you look at that chair, right? Pretend that two of those slits are closed. There's only one slit open. And we throw microscopic subatomic particles at the chair. And then we say, how many are going to get on the wall? There'd be one line, right? And then now we do the experiment. We leave it like that. We open the other two slits. What do you think is going to happen? Be 3 lines, right? What happens is in the subatomic world, you shoot the 3, you shoot at all of it. They all go into the first one, the one that was open first. So it's Bugs Bunny curveball, and they all go into the first one, which is not in any physics book. Classical physics, if I throw a ball, it's going to go that direction. Here, you throw it in that direction, the subatomic particle goes, because it goes by what? The memory of the observer, what was observed prior. So at that subatomic level, tinier than the atom, it is not decided yet. It is affected by what? Thought. So your thought is the what? Your thought is the actual wavicle. You're moving those. You're creating them. With your own development of energy, you are conducting the what? The particles of matter to become something. And eventually they become, so we don't talk about them because we know them when they become something. You know what I'm saying? But they were all decided by the mind. And that's what the ancients knew. That's what the sciences now start to speak on. Right? So it's a world of new ideas in here, right? So if you can, though, just so we know, take down my email so you can email me, okay? And just remind me, I'm Claudio. I'm from the class and everything.
They have your number, brother.
Yeah. Right. Let me see. Let me look at these questions. All right. My email address is Sunez97, Sunez. I'm writing it in the chat too, at gmail.com, okay?
Oh, do you?
Sunez97 at Gmail.
Right. Sunez 97 at gmail.com.
On YouTube?
No, I'm writing it in the chat here, but that's my email. All right. Malika, that's peace though. Shamika is very welcome. And any questions you have, as I give you my email address, you could send me any question you want. People don't have to write in the chat. If you feel comfortable, which I prefer, that we have a relationship of building, right? You email me and we can build further, okay? Malik, you said, can you break down the difference and or similarities between law and rule pertaining to Yaqub? Pertaining to Yaqub, rule and law, and the way that we build on it. Law is something that is natural, a natural recognition of something that is so. So when I say that the law and order of the universe is supreme mathematics, that's something natural. When I if I go 1 is knowledge, 2 is wisdom, I say that, those numbers are that, I haven't made a rule that has to be enforced to make it go that way. I just explain something that is. That's how we see law. That's how we see law. When we see rule is something that you are making to be enforced for a particular outcome. And dealing with Yaqub, that's how Yaqub made the grafted man, right? He had to have a certain breeding law of grafting, right? So that's the difference. Yeah, Malik, okay, all right. Malik asked me, what would I tell an earth interested in the knowledge itself? The same thing I would tell God. You're the earth, you know what I mean? And like all the women that I've taught, I build with them that is their nature. That is who they are. Just like man is the creator, woman is the essence of creation itself. You see? And you brought the great word, Claudio, interdependence, the creator and creation, man and woman. Man and woman are interdependent. You see? Man initiates this reality. The woman is what? Furthers it. Like the knowledge and cipher, right? Like cipher, the black woman is there to help further everything into infinity, right? And some people teach that. I don't teach that weak cipher man thing. I don't teach that the woman was made by, you know what I'm saying, the mutation of man and all that. No, I don't teach that. Man is right and exact, woman is right and exact. You know what I'm saying? That's how I teach it. But this history, this knowledge, this mathematics, so is for everyone to use. You know what I'm saying? Even the white man. I have a white kid that just emailed me to learn this. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even my first. So we teach, and I go, listen, in more diplomatic terms, like, that we teach the white man is the devil, so you have to learn what your history is. Yeah. So no man is always what they made him to be. Man is what he decides he's going to become. So when we say that the black man is God, the black man is naturally God, but he must become that by what? Acknowledging himself and living that out. Then he's the true and living God. I'm not bumping into brothers eating fucking swine and wilding out and go, peace, God. That's crazy. They haven't become anything. You know what I mean? Just like if I see a white man, I go, yo, devil. You know what I'm saying? Because some of them are righteous in many aspects. And so I take them at their word if they show and prove continuously. Now they word, though, they're always 35 to 50 years, 35. You know what I mean? Like, we got to be careful. We're always watching them. Yeah, but when you give them the way to show and prove, they can't show and prove. You know what I mean? You know, like I tell, yo, just like I'll be building with this brother that you know, the white brother that emailed me. He watches the class too. He's doing the knowledge now, right? Many of the white people I taught, they fell off because not because they wanted to be devils or they were mad that the thing calls them devils, right? The lesson saying that the white man is a devil. It's literally because the knowledge was very heavy. They fell under the weight. And people go, well, yeah, because he's not tough enough and stuff. But I seen black people fall under the weight. You know what I'm saying? I seen people not come to class, and I said, brother, yo, what happened to your man? What happened to your man? Who you come to him? Oh, because he didn't want to stand up and show and prove the degrees. Like, he didn't want to stand up in front of the class and build it. So, yeah, but he knew it, though. Why didn't he just go up and he got scared? He didn't like doing it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a weakness that I can't really, you know, I can't make a thing for that. In life, though, there's always moments where you have to show and prove. You know what I'm saying? And if you mess up, hey, you got a loss. That's life. You know?
Yeah.
When I got knowledge, though, that became more and more real. Like, it became more and more real. I had to show and prove 120 lessons, and a million, every elder that could come came through.
Yeah.
I'm doing the 1 to 40. That's what I had left. 1 to 40. Nah, you know, Firstborn Prince isn't here. He left. He went somewhere. All right, let me, you know, how fast can you say all 40 degrees, though? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to say them as fast as I can. By the time I get to the 20s, the hard part, right, the tough stuff, man, Firstborn Prince wheels in. Alim comes in. Everybody's here. I'm like, oh, man. You know what I did? I'm nearsighted. Can't see that. I can't see far. I took off my glasses and said, listen, I ain't watching none of y'all. I'm going to keep building. I'm just going to keep building, though. You know what I mean? And you know what? I kept focused and I just quoted everything and answered Knowledge Me's questions, though. You know what I'm saying? Because Knowledge Me always expected me to perform. So if other people came, though, he would make it harder for me, not easier for me. You know how like a teacher wants to look good, he'll be easier on a student when others are around. And that Knowledge Me, man, he get more harder on me, asking me some questions. I'm like, man, you never been with me about that. Now I got to come with an understanding with that. So it was like that. You had to perform. But then I realized it's like that everywhere. Every writing job. Nah, you don't have one moment to write. You got to write right there. When I did radio, and you can't be like, yo, pardon yesterday's broadcast, it was no good. I'll do better next. Nah, you messed up that day. It's in there. It's in the record. You know, right? You got to be able to perform. You got to be able to show and prove, right? That's how life is. So it prepares you. You know, kids now they you know, they're scared to give a speech. They're scared to give this. They're scared to speak. You know what I mean? No, it can't be like that. We got to be prepared to show and prove.
We're gonna be here prepared to show and prove.
Yeah. Malik, I remember you asked this before. It's a good question. He said, what was the reason for approximate for in today's degree? The approximations are because to recognize one thing, that not all of the figures will remain exact, right? The approximations in the lessons on all of them, right? 25,000 square miles, all that, is because it's a living thing. The earth is a living thing, right? So technically, like when we go like how many square miles, right? How many square miles? Do you know?
You know.
Okay, right? When you go into how many square miles, 24,896 square miles, that could fluctuate. You know what I'm saying?
The square miles of what?
The planet Earth, right?
Planet Earth.
Right.
Circumference.
So we
not
get this,
square miles.
excuse me, the circumference, right? These fluctuate, right? Because the Earth what? Expands, contracts, expands, right? If we look at any time, if we look at the figures throughout history, from the what day the lessons are written, the figures have changed though. Like it's not exactly 6 sextillion tons followed by 21 ciphers. You know what I mean? Some people compute it differently, but it's to the measure. So the approximations are to make what? Judgments, because we make our history to every a year to every mile. Because of that, though, we make approximations of land right? And equate that with what we are doing. Because of that, though, the approximations are useful. You know what I mean? To make judgments of calendars, approximations. The calendar is an approximation, right? The approximation allows you to have consistency. The consistency allows you to see a pattern easier. Let's say we use the exact number that we get every single year. We have a different number every single year by, even if it was decimals, right? So now the pattern is not as consistent, so we don't see the measure of consistency in things that we are judging. So to make a consistency of things, you deal with the approximation. With that approximation, you could say what? Consistently, we are having this happen in these many years. You do the solar year by not the approximation, but the exact time every single time, you may lose out on a pattern to be seen. You see? It won't be there, it'll be hidden.
We do 365.25, but it's really 365.24, something.
Right. This allows us to have a consistency because the variation is minimal. So the approximation is allowable. Once the approximation is allowable, then you use it to get a consistency. You know what I mean? Right? That, that's the way it goes. You know what I mean? And see, it works with all things. The things that you do. Let's say you train this many minutes, right? But it's never that much. It's a little bit more, a little bit less. If you have set things you do, right? I have set things I do. It'll run 74, 75, 76 minutes, right? Depends. How fast was I going to this here or that there? You know what I'm saying? It fluctuates. But then I give you the approximation because that's the time that I'm going to allot consistently to it. You know what I mean?
And you said somewhere in between there, time is lost?
No. Not time is lost, though, but because of the variations, though, you don't see a consistency. If we don't see a consistency, that means we don't see patterns. And now you can't really judge what the patterns of, let's say, weather, you know what I'm saying? The patterns of action and when they take place. All of these things. That's why approximations are important. You know what I mean?
Or to not lose time. Because just not doing regularly, then you're losing time, but if not approximating, right? Or being like effective with it, right?
What I brought up as far as the 365.24 versus 0.25. If it's 0.25, then every 4 years we have a leap year. If it's 0.24, after 10, 15, 20 years, we can't do leap year the way we do it every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be off.
Yeah. Off like how? Like more consistent or less consistent?
You may get the leap year every 5 years, then every 6, then every, right? It's going to stretch out.
Oh, but then that's not going to be, okay, I get it.
So you won't have, it's
easier to use the 0.25, even though it's not 100% precise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So sometimes the estimate makes more sense.
Yeah.
So the world uses 3.25?
365.25. So this year is 366 days. Last year was 365 days.
Wow.
And then in 3 more years, we're going to have 366 again. Or 4 years, every 4 years. But if it was 0.24, just like a day is not really 24 hours. It's 23 hours, 59 minutes,
Right.
and some seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But we save 24 hours in a day. Keep it simple.
It would be that best way to get the most of your time, right? But keep it simple, you say, right?
Yeah, the estimate helps you keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff to that question that person asked. Like,
what question is that?
So today's degree is, what is the circumference?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is 24,896 miles, approximately 25,000 miles. So,
Right. See, that's an approximation too, right? When you write your history to a year to every mile, it's to the circumference, because technically it would be difficult to write it for every square mile, meaning you'd be writing a history for every direction of the planet. That would be infinite, and you wouldn't be able to make those calculations consistently. But you do it a year to every mile on the circumference, then what? You get a pattern, just like the calendar. You keep the calendar to a consistent pattern. Then you say, listen, these things have to get done in this pattern. This type of growth and development I expect in this pattern, right? Now you can see whether you're growing better, developing greater, or lesser. So these are built in. These are built in to make mathematics work. You know what I mean? Right? That's how you master mathematics. The approximation is important.
Yeah.
And it's relative to a culture. So like over here, we
That's
generally
peace,
have
Malik.
4 seasons.
Peaceful.
In ancient Egypt, in Kemet, it had 3 seasons.
Yeah, they can hear you. They can hear you.
So, you know,
So Egypt, they got 3 seasons?
ancient Egypt, they had 3 seasons.
Yeah. Even here, we had 4.
Yeah, that would make sense. Just half of fall, half of spring combined with the summer and the winter. And I guess I don't know how it will go. But wait, what does the mean of the degree of the day? Is like what you were saying from the 120?
In the 120 lessons, they're broke up into different parts, though. So if I say the degree of the day, we're talking about the 1 to 40 set, which is for lost found Muslim lesson number 2, which has 40 questions and answers. That's the biggest set in 120. So when somebody says, "What's today's degree?"
Also, 120. They're different sets, and each
They
side-
all add up the amount to 122. 2 of them are repeated, so it's 120. But today's degree refers to the day. Today's the second. The degree in that set of the day. Today's the second. When today somebody says, "How do you see today's mathematics?" We're dealing with supreme mathematics, and today is the second day of the month. So it is what? Wisdom, knowledge, wisdom. Sometimes when people build, but not so much. We don't really. When you're naming the month, maybe, but not really. We mainly focus on the date. Today's the second, so we're dealing with wisdom. So we don't make that doesn't mean that we say everything is wisdom today. No, it means we focus on wisdom particularly. How do you see wisdom? And you focus on it. It's an exercise, meaning that you're always aware of the day that it is. Because some brothers don't be knowing the date. We know they messing up. Right? Now you know the date. How you see it in the day's mathematics. I see it as wisdom. Right? Wisdom. Right?
It was a good day to be in this class today. Right?
Absolutely. All mathematics are good, man. All mathematics are good. There'll be no day that's no good.
Like in the winter in 2022, we know was like you said, Santa. Some brother with the dress told me like most of our asses was like they're UFOs, so because we got created by UFOs. So I'm like that's what's like us who go to Grand Angels. And he's like, hey, what? Wow. Oh, I'm gonna stop. You joking? Like I ain't saying he ain't joking. He's serious. Cause like we're from like Spain, we're like English, we got great like this. Was that's cause
That's part of a lesson too, or no?
Say again?
You heard what he said or not?
No, I didn't hear all of it.
Oh,
Okay.
You heard what he said.
yeah.
So this is on the board outside. They used to be on this board in here, but every day there's mathematics, there's the alphabet. This is today's degree on 1 to 10. That's one lesson set.
Oh, so N is the mathematics.
Supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet. Yeah. So 1 to 10. That's the first.
Everybody online, I'm here for 10 more minutes though, so let me know if you have any questions.
When he was talking about the original man, that's in the 1 to 10. Then there's a 1 to 14, 1 to 36, 1 to 40. What's the circumference? That's what we was talking about. And there's actual facts and solar facts.
What's solar? Like outside?
Solar facts are like today's all the measurements of the planet, the distance from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So today's Venus is 67 million miles from the sun. Yesterday was Mercury is 36 million miles away from the sun. Tomorrow is Earth is 93 million miles away from the sun. And that's 67 million miles away from the sun. That's today. And that's one of the ones that repeat. When he said there's 2 that repeat, one of them is the distance of the Earth from the sun. But if you decide to study, you're gonna get all of this. This is our language. This is our rite of passage. This is something that we go through to build mentally, physically, spiritually, economically. Just you know.
All right.
Yeah, like he heard everything I say, but you two never heard everything I say. Because okay, look,
He said something. He said something. That's why.
Oh yeah.
No, he heard you. He said.
I heard.
Yeah, he said it was the truth.
No, it's not
true. He didn't.
It's just not in the
Not
lessons.
true. Yeah,
No,
that's what he said.
no, he's on his math right now, so he's not into the lessons yet.
Okay.
But I did have lessons before, but I gave it one of my family members.
So go.
I did get, and mostly had someone that get back to me, so I could soccer one of the lessons.
Just make sure that where you getting them from official.
Yeah.
Where you getting them from?
He was in a Lost Shots class.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
So
he's been coming around for a while. They say.
Okay. So yeah, that's where you get them from. Yeah, get them from a lot of shot. Yeah.
I do.
All right. I'm gonna be here for a couple of more minutes though. So to 8 o'clock today.
Yeah, but only 8:30.
Claudia, if you have any questions, I'm here till 8 o'clock. So it's almost 8 o'clock.
That's good. 7:51.
Yeah. I'm here till 8. But yeah. So Claudia, you know your next steps. You email me. You get that information, but that doesn't mean that you made your decision. It just means you're getting information that you're gonna see if it's knowledge, if it's useful to you, all of that. Okay.
How would the information come? Like all at once, or would I have to tell you what I?
No. There's certain things that you need to know. Certain things I reiterate that are useful in the beginning for a new student, and you take it, and you make your decisions of how you see this. If you want to say, listen, I want to get this knowledge, then you come, right? And obviously, look, that doesn't mean that you're beholden to learn from me either. I say that to everybody. Okay, there's other brothers teaching too. So
to me, I feel like I don't know. I feel like you, Marcus Garvey, when I listen to you.
That's peace. So yeah, you make the decision, and when you have it, then we're good.
Yeah, right. I could listen to Marcus Garvey, bro. I always listen to Malcolm X. Like, I could listen to Our Love the Father.
Now, the quantum physics, you study that too?
Yeah, we study everything that shows and proves our reality, And there's many books. Quantum mechanics is very difficult to understand, but there are books that make it easy.
Yeah.
Nah,
I read a couple of books like that too.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement. It depends on
Yeah.
everybody's different. Like I went to college, my degree's in sociology. I'm really into math. So, those are my things. Sociology, math, history. Somebody else, might be an auto mechanic. Might build computers. He's a journalist and an MC. And he does kung fu too. So,
Does kung fu.
But you do the classes here for martial arts?
No.
That's different, right?
No, I teach martial artists personally. Like, yeah. People be getting this now. They just want to beat up everybody. I'm like,
Nah, it's like what you were saying. Is like everything nowadays is like personality, like quick fix this, quick fix that, and nothing is really rooted in real character. Like nobody starts with real C foundation.
Absolutely, yeah.
this is one of the names. So he was
Peace,
named
God.
a lot of names. This is our
Everything's
name
peace,
right here. He's been around
Great, God, great.
for a long time. But a lot of those names that he named, I knew most of them except for his main teacher. Now, as me, I didn't know him. But all those other names, powerful people, intelligent, and so he was around the best. That's what I was trying to say. He was thoroughly
You gonna
taught.
be here next week?
So every Thursday.
I'm here every Thursday, yeah.
But you missed one or two out of the whole.
No. Let's say out of all these years, I probably missed maybe like, it's gotta be more.
Less than 10 though.
Like once a year.
Maybe, probably, 9, 10, maybe it could be 10, I don't know.
It could be 10, but yeah.
But yeah,
He be here though.
Yeah.
He be here.
listen, the first class I ever missed, my daughter was born on Thursday. My first daughter was born on Thursday, so I wasn't making this one that day, you know what I mean? And I did miss a class when my second daughter was born because she was born on Wednesday. So I was like, all right, I'll stay. But there was a blackout. That was on a Thursday, the blackout. and I made it here. I walked up.
03?
Yeah,
03, right?
the blackout of 03 was
Someone
on
told me
Thursday.
that the blackout. I was talking about the other day that it happened all in North America.
No, that was mainly like New York City, the tri-state area.
It was just New
Try
York,
to
right?
say it.
Yeah.
But mostly other states, like
Go ahead though. Tell us where you
But
walked.
yeah, I was on 40. I was on like East 39th Street,
Midtown.
and I walked all the way up here. And God's came, and we was walking all of Harlem though in the dark, right? We was walking all of Harlem in the dark, But it was peace. It was real peace. It wasn't violent or nothing like that.
Yeah, I remember that. I had to go to
Blizzards. There's blizzards. I've been here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
What's that?
Now I remember that blackout. I had to go to like the 17th floor of my building in the 33rd. That shit. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was wild. But that's crazy. The day that Harlem was the only ones that didn't rebel when Malcolm X died.
They did.
Martin Luther King.
The father and his 5%ers stopped them.
They stopped them.
They stopped
them
already. They was out in the street and they were stopping people. And to his credit too, Mayor John Lindsay actually came out into the streets here.
The mayor was there. Yeah.
So he actually walked the streets with the father. There's that famous issue of the New York Magazine where you have the cover with Mayor John Lindsay and you have the father. He's on the cover of that.
What?
Yeah. They used to have it here on the wall, but yeah.
I'm gonna print it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna print out a few articles that we.
Go like be on camera or on TV or on news. So you kid, we get ourselves. We just don't want to be on the media.
Yeah. He wasn't spotlight craving them.
Yeah.
I think he made everybody else teach. So he wasn't out there like the way a lot of people when they run things and they, they're the main guy that you're seeing, the character, the character of a cult, you know what I mean? So he wasn't with that. So it was mainly the young going out there and teach those. So you didn't really know, but you were getting it.
What was his name he changed?
Allah. When he left the temple, he was like, I'm Allah. We call him Allah the Father because he fathered this nation. And to the elders, those firstborn, right? He was a father figure to them. He really was a father to them. Now I remember that from Prince used to say that though, He was like, we were crazy though. He was like a father to us. He would scold us like, and they was doing some things. And they wasn't good boys. That's for sure. They definitely wasn't good boys.
They were looking that hood around though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Martial arts was a tradition that the early generations were all into.
Yeah, the gods early, they used to call themselves the Blood Brothers. And they used to walk the streets though. And they would learn katas and a lot of karate moves and stuff like that. And when I got knowledge though, that was seen like a tradition, like, yo, you gotta do kung fu too. And I was like, all right. I was like, all right, yeah. Since you put it that way, I'm gonna do it. But I remember when it was the God Knowledge P.E.A.C.E invited me, and he was the first one to invite me. And he was like, yo, come to see our C-gun. And I was like, man, I didn't know about all that kicking stuff. That's what I said. I'm doing all these kicks and shit. But I was like, I don't know about all that kicking stuff. But all the majority of the gods that did the security at parliaments, our monthly gatherings, our parliaments, they were trained in kung fu. So I ended up meeting all of them and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And we all learned kung fu. Out of all the things, the only thing I didn't do was security. But I don't have the physique for security. You know what I mean? Bobby used to tell me, you more undercover. Not really the bouncer physique. You know what I'm saying? Not really bouncer physique. But it was like that. We was learning. Yeah. And all of this stuff I learned for free. All I had to do was work hard, But that would definitely, martial arts was a tradition. Being able to defend yourself, fight, all of that, So you see the gods, all the gods is always doing some kind of martial arts, boxing, like some type of fighting,
Like a discipline, right?
Yeah, a discipline,
Build the mind, build the body.
Yeah. Listen, your body is weak. It doesn't do what you want it to do. You can't make it think what you want it to think. you know? And to overcome the body, though, you train it hard and you can tell it what to do. You know, you can will it to do what you need to do. And you'll know how to give it rest as opposed to just giving it breaks of laziness. You know, it's a difference. And that's the thing. You know?
Different. I don't know about that. What is the difference?
The difference is because the body needs a break, right? But if you're not pushing it excessively, you don't really know what your body can do. And then that means you don't know what your mind can do, you know? So to really train, though, you have to push it to an extent where, like, you reach a plateau, intensity of some kind, you know? And people don't do that. They don't do it with their body. They don't do it with their mind, you know? Like, for example, just take a day, you got no work, you're at home, you're all good, you have a weekend. Maybe you got Saturday and Sunday off. Saturday morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to read for 10 straight hours. I'll take breaks for eating and using the bathroom. Well, not using the bathroom. You can bring them books in the bathroom. You know what I mean? 10 hours, though. These are the kind of things we would do. You know, I was a writer. I said, I got to read way more. I have to read everything. I would have days where I would just try it. I would try to read for 24 hours. Though. By the end of that, though, I was all messed up. But I made it, though. You know what I'm saying? 24 hours, though. You know? Trust me, the 23rd hour, you're not reading so good, though. You're reading real slow and you're like, you know? But you made it, though, you know? And I would do stuff like that, you know, just to test the body, you know what I'm saying? When you do your workout, when they say, do your workout to failure, right? Did you ever see, do you do your push-ups, though, till you can't move anymore? That's the failure, though, right? You do your squats, though, till failure. Like, people go, I don't have a gym, I don't have weights or nothing like that. Do push-ups till failure. Do squats till failure. You see how strong your legs will get.
Sure.
You know? And, you know, there's no excuse. Remember, I was telling you about the 5x5 workout. You know? When I'm rushed for time, though, right? 5x5, right? 5 minutes of push-ups. Straight. Every time I mess up, I take a break, keep going. But I can't think of stopping completely until the 5 minutes are up. Then I have like resistance bands and light weights. 5 minutes of resistance bands and and light weights. 5 minutes straight. No stops. Right? I'm only changing the positions. Right? Then 5 minutes of squats. Okay? 5 minutes of weighted calves raises. Then 5 minutes of ab workout. No breaks. None at all. That's 5 minutes. That takes 25 minutes. 25 minutes to do that. You never did it before? Do 1x5. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. That's 5 minutes, though. It might be 10 minutes total because you put on some shorts and you cleared the area. 10 minutes to do that. See how much stronger you are. When you make your body stronger, the body can, your nutrients, everything is going to be used greater, absorbed greater. Your mind is going to be fresh. You know? That's how it is. Certain books I wrote, I'm releasing a martial arts philosophy book. I wrote this years ago, but I'm releasing it with the album. Like an album is a score for it. When I wrote that book, I said I had to write one chapter every day. And I would lie down on the floor, no bed. I wouldn't go to bed. I lie down on the floor in my training area, right? A little dojo. If I don't finish the chapter, I gotta sleep on the floor. You know what I'm saying? And when I would sleep on the floor and not come up with what to write, I start training, thinking. All right. Pretty soon, man, I miss my bed, man. I start writing. You know? So it's like you gotta put yourself through real discipline, you know? What they say, the 1,000 hours of work, though. You gotta put yourself through it, right? You ever seen that clip where Curry shoots like for 5 minutes straight, makes like 100 straight 3-pointers? How much time you think he spends in the gym to get it that way, right? How many hours did he practice to be able to do that video?
Right.
And that video's practice from other practice. Man, he's not playing, though. He's not playing. You know? So it's like that. Things like martial arts, they discipline you in that aspect, you know? Right? How to perfect one particular move the right way, you know?
Have you read Zen and the Martial Arts? Joe Hyams. I think
Zen.
Hyams.
I think I have. Yeah.
That's a good one.
If it's on Shambhala, then I'm thinking of the same book.
Joe Hyams.
Oh, Joe Hyams. I don't think I have this book.
Yeah, that's a good one, G. If you get a chance.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get that. Yeah. Peace to the God, infinite mind, wise freedom, equator. All right.
Infinite Mind shot me to Supreme Mathematics in Spanish. I was asking them for that.
Oh yeah.
Peace to the God.
All right, that's peace. All right. So I'm gonna let everybody go here. Please hit me up, Clemente. Yeah, so we can build. All right. Everybody hit me up on an email. I will be back here next week. All right. Earlier, if you email me, right? If you have my number, text me. We'll build. All right. Peace.